Hi everyone! I'm sorry I haven't uploaded a video in like a few weeks. I definitely did not plan out my time very well, so I thought this would just be a nice little sit down and catch up video. Hold on, Cody wants to go outside. Someone DM'd me and said I haven't done a heart to heart in a while, so I thought I would just sit down and talk. I know usually I would be doing my makeup during these, but I cannot say all the things that I want to say and do my makeup at the same time. It's just a little too hard, and I want to make sure I like cover everything. There is no Hawaii vlog. I didn't vlog while I was there. It wasn't my trip to vlog. It was my friend's wedding slash bachelorette slash bachelor party. So just not my place. Didn't want to do that. And I just wanted to enjoy my time with my friend and her friends. And honestly, it was one of the best trips ever. I had so much fun. I felt very comfortable there, and it was very much just living in the present. These last few weeks, I think I have just mostly been living in the present. I'm not as anxious as I was before, and I'm just kind of enjoying it and relishing in everything. Let's see, I've been in this apartment for a month-ish, even though I was gone for like 2 weeks of it. So when I first moved in, it was really stressful because I was trying to get settled and then I had to leave. So upon coming back, I've just been having a lot of fun. I just feel so much happier and lighter and freer. And I never want to say that's all because I'm in a new space or I like ran away from my old space or stuff like that. But it just feels like there's been a shift. I'm just feeling really grateful. I don't think I realized how miserable I was starting to get at my old apartment, and I just needed something fresh. That apartment has seen too many bad days, I think. And this is something that I've been wanting to share for a while, but I just wasn't really ready to at the time, and I'm so thankful that you all understand that. If you had seen my older vlogs, you'll know that I definitely had a few tough months in 2020, which also feels like yesterday to me. Like, I can't believe we're halfway through 2021. It still feels like last month was December. I definitely had a tough time like the last 6 months of 2020, and I'm kind of ready to talk about it and just like share my experience in terms of like my mental health and what went on. For a good, I think 2 or 3 months, I was kind of coping by smoking weed like every day. I think I just got really bored at home, and smoking is never something that I really hid, but I never like really talked about it either because I didn't think it was that big part of my life. It wasn't, and I did it like recreationally. It's legal in California. It was kind of like my way to wind down. And then at one point I like maybe got a little too high and I dissociated, like, you know, that out-of-body experience that you get when you're smoking. And it was really scary. Like, it didn't feel like myself. I just felt so out of touch with reality, and everything was just kind of like drifting apart. And then like there were a few moments after that when I still felt that dissociation feeling when I wasn't high. Like, just my normal everyday was very weird. My body felt really sensitive and really out of body. It was like looking at things and feeling them for the first time. Like, it's just a really weird feeling, and it made me feel so out of touch with reality. And then it was around that time when I had gone home to visit my parents, and I got into this huge fight with my mom. I talked about it before, and I think that was like my last grounding place, and it kind of just fell apart. So along with having like dissociating and fighting with my mom and feeling that like I had lost my one last support system in the middle of a pandemic when I wasn't sure if I could pay rent, you know, it was really stressful. And I think that was kind of like the last thing that kind of broke me. And after that, I think I had my first panic attack. I don't know, and I've researched it. It sounds like what it would be a panic attack, but I don't want to self-diagnose either. But yeah, I had a moment where I was just sitting on the couch and my thoughts were racing. They were out of control, and I felt very unsafe with myself. I was just really scared of what was going to happen. And I won't get into too many details. It gets kind of dark. But they just didn't feel like they were my thoughts. And I was literally just sitting on my couch, not moving, not doing anything, but my heart was racing and I felt really just out of control. And I'm a very like spiritual person. I believe in God and stuff. So I have kind of my science-based theories on what happened, you know, or biology-based. And then I have my spiritual reasonings and beliefs. And the spiritual side is definitely way more frightening. So that's why I try to rationalize it with like breaking down what was happening with my body and why my mind might be racing with all of these thoughts. But it was just really scary. And then there would be some nights where I could not sleep because I was so scared of what might happen to me while I was sleeping. Because I had felt so out of control while I was awake, I didn't know what would happen if I was sleeping. So there were nights where I would be afraid to go to sleep and I couldn't go to sleep. And I had really bad insomnia. There was one night I went to sleep like clutching my Bible because I was just so scared. And the next day was when I just like had to get out of the house, like took Cody, went to the beach and tried to just calm myself down. I was like, you know what, maybe I'm going stir crazy. Maybe I can't take being inside anymore. Let me just get out for a day. It helped a little bit while I was out on the beach. But as I was driving home and getting closer to home, I like started freaking out all over again. I ended up texting my friend. He's a friend that I know from college who became a Christian, so we would talk about those things together. And I just texted him like, hey, I don't even remember, but I think I said like, hey, I'm having a really tough time. Like, can you just pray for me? We ended up talking on the phone and I was just sobbing, bawling, crying uncontrollably because I was just so scared. And I've never felt this way before, and I've never had those kinds of thoughts where I just didn't feel like I had control. My friend helped me through that time so much. We had weekly phone calls where we would just talk and catch up, and we would go through Bible verses and just talk about them, and it really got me through that period of having just that regularity, consistency, and just someone who kind of understood the spiritual side and also kind of the more practical sides of what was going on with me. Yeah, it was really hard. Like I confided in a few friends and some of them kind of understood, some of them felt like not really, and it's all okay. Like the fact that people even took the time to listen to what I was going through just meant so much to me. It's really wild when you're actually going through it because everything just feels so much more intense than what people say. Like, yes, there are times where I don't have control of my thoughts, but during that time, I really had no control over my thoughts, and it felt like I had no control over my body, and it was just a really, really scary time for me, and it took me a really long time to recover. You know, I think I first had that dissociation moment in late July, I want to say, and I don't think I really recovered until maybe like earlier this year in like January, where I was, you know, trying to get my life moving again, when I was trying to change things in my apartment, my old apartment. It took a really long time to feel safe and sane and not worry about having a panic attack or an anxiety attack and not being able to sleep at night. And I'll be honest, actually, like the last 8 months in my old apartment, I had a really hard time sleeping. I would go to bed at 12 but not fall asleep until 3, or I would just stay awake until 3 until I'm super tired, and then like hopefully I'll just knock out when I go to bed and not have to stay up thinking. And since moving to this new apartment, I've just been sleeping through the night, and I just didn't realize how, I don't want to say unhappy because I don't think I knew that I was unhappy. I wasn't really sad, I was just like really stressed and miserable. Are miserable and unhappy the same thing? Like, I don't think so, but you can be the judge of that. Like, to each their own kind of thing, right? I learned a lot from that experience. One, I no longer smoke. I have not touched weed since that time, and I'll probably will never touch it again. I know there are probably some people who are like, you just smoked too much. or maybe like the weed you smoked was like too strong or whatever. Sure, maybe, yeah, that could definitely be the case, but also like I don't need to be smoking either, and I don't miss it. I feel so much happier and healthier without it. Two, the second thing I learned is you really, really, really don't know what someone is going through. And I've just tried to be more of a compassionate, understanding person after that experience. Like, I mean, I always tried to be before, but this was like to another level where I was like, no, you really don't know what someone is going through, because I've never felt something so intensely before. And you could tell someone and they maybe have this level of understanding of how intense something is, but maybe you're actually up here. So you never really know. Luckily, I've been able to navigate out of that space, that headspace, whatever that situation was, and come out stronger and better because of it. But I know like some people might not be as lucky. It might be harder. Like I think I had a very, like it maybe was just a freak out moment for me. I don't know, but I am very grateful to have found my peace again, because that time was just not fun. And I don't say any of this lightly. I just want to normalize talking about this. Another question you might be wondering is why didn't I go to therapy? As much as people respect others for going to therapy, I think people should also respect when people don't want to go to therapy. I just didn't think it was really an option. Like 2020 was a hard year. There were months where I made like no money. I just don't feel like that for me now. And I don't really have a reason for it. It's just like a feeling that I'm just like, no, I just don't want to. I've been to therapy before. I am definitely still a huge advocate for it if you're ready for it and you want to go to therapy. But just during that time, I didn't really know how long it was going to last. It would just come and go very intensely. So I just didn't really know how to handle that situation. Obviously, if I had been talking to a therapist for a really long time, then yeah, I would have just told that therapist what was going on. But like, I just did not have the energy or the mental capacity to find a therapist. I know I really wanted to share this experience at some point. It kind of felt like I had to, because it's definitely one of those life-changing moments that I will never forget. Like, I am just so incredibly lucky to have had friends in my life who were there for me and were just so supportive and gave me so much of their time. A lot of you know that I do like consider myself a Christian, but I don't actively go to church. That's something that I've always struggled with, but I did pray quite a bit during that time to God. Yeah, there would definitely be some nights where I was so scared that I felt like I was on my knees begging God for help and forgiveness. You know, that whole like 6 to 8 months was a very humbling experience, and every time I look back at that time, I feel like I'm learning something new that I missed the first time around. And even though it was so shitty, like, I'm very grateful to have learned and come out of that. So now that I'm, you know, in a new space with a new mindset, I'm just like, how did I miss how miserable I was in that apartment? You know, I loved that space. That space was like everything to me when I first got it. But I think towards the end, there was just so many like bad things like kind of holding me down there. And now that I'm like recounting my experience, I'm like, how did I try to continue living there? Because there would be moments where I'm like, oh yeah, this is where I sat and I had my first panic attack. This is the room that I slept in when I couldn't actually sleep and was clutching my Bible. I'm really glad that I could share this experience with you without crying. I really thought I would be bawling throughout this whole video. I think that to me means that I have, you know, pretty much moved on from that situation. I hope I didn't disappoint anyone who didn't know that I smoked weed sometimes. I hope my parents aren't watching this, because I think they would be disappointed. I will just say, like, be careful if you do that quite often. I didn't think something like that would really happen ever, and especially to me. But after that happened, I did Google, I did research, and there are more stories about people dissociating pretty badly and it triggering some mental health issues, so please just be careful. It's not something that's addicting, but there are withdrawal symptoms, and I definitely went through those. It's just wild because I was only doing that for I think like 2 to 3 months, and it wasn't even much. Like I was still working, I was still functioning, but maybe just like over time it kind of kept chipping away. And I know that like it does affect your REM cycle sleep after a certain point. So again, just be careful. I'm never one to tell anyone what to do or judge them for whatever they do. I just wanted to share my experience in terms of my mental health and how I kind of got out of that situation and update you on how I've been feeling. I'm honestly so sorry that I haven't been uploading. I've just been having so much fun and enjoying life, and like it's been great. So yes, I'm going to do more vlogs because I miss editing and uploading vlogs. I have a ton of makeup videos that are still backed up, especially from the 7 Deadly Sin series. I was supposed to answer some heart-to-heart questions that you submitted on Instagram, but I feel like this video is already super long, so I'm gonna have to save that for another time. Yeah, sorry about that. By the way, you didn't notice I cut my hair. I meant to mention that at the beginning of the video, but I kept forgetting. I had to cut it because it was just freaking awful in Hawaii. Like the humidity and the salt water, obviously just really fried my hair. It was just so awful and crunchy. It was like a nest. So I just got a lot of it chopped off to help it grow faster and get it back to a healthier state. And then my bangs were annoying me, so I got them cut a little bit too. So now I have to wait for that to grow out. I feel like this is the most like mentally happiest and strongest I've been since moving to LA. I don't know if it has something to do with turning 30. Like maybe after you turn 30, you just like don't give a fuck anymore. A part of me is a little nervous because I'm like, oh, I'm just waiting for like the other shoe to drop. I'm just waiting for something to like go wrong. But another side of me is like, dude, you went through that emotional period. If you can get through that, like what else is stopping you? I actually meant to just sit down and do like a short test run, and then I just ended up talking this whole time. So if there's anything that I forgot to mention, I'll just write it down in the description or the comments. Or if you have any questions, or if you've had a similar experience, like I would love to hear about it. Anyway, thank you for listening to my story and giving me the space to share and allowing me to be vulnerable about something that, you know, at one point I wasn't ready to talk about. God, I really hope my parents don't watch this. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a freaking adult now. I'm 30. I can do what I want. Okay. I'll see you all in my next video. I really need to. I need to go. I need to go. Bye, guys.